Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is bending to match your line of travel. In most cases, we want the alignment of our horse from ears to tail to match the alignment of the line of travel that they're on. There are times when we will ride them in a counterbend for a specific reason, but we're not going to worry about that today because we're working on up transitions and making them with nice engagement of the hindquarters. And so true bend is going to be the one that we want, where they're matching the line of travel. But the part I wanted to talk about was for the people that are practicing on the ground. And that could be anybody, any of you that are riding, probably have to lead your horse somewhere. And so in leading a horse, usually we stay on one side of their body. And if we're on the left side, which is more common, and we're bending to the left, then I call that true bend as opposed to counter bend. And so they're bending around you. And everything that I do in groundwork, I want to be a building block for how I'm going to want that horse to work when I'm on their back. And so when I'm leading a horse in true bend, I'm going to position myself by their shoulder so that they can bend around me. And another thing that I'm going to be really aware of is not only is their spine aligned with the line of travel, but so is mine. And so we're traveling like we're on parallel railroad tracks, not having them start to pass in front of me and all of a sudden my train's going to crash into their train. And they feel that energy coming, and that gets their head up or pushed away, which is not how we want it. When they're following their nose, we want them to be soft and relaxed and not resisting. If we're on the left side of the horse and we're going to turn right, then relative to the horse, we're putting them into a counter bend because they're on a right bend. They're looking to the right, but we're on the left side still. So we refer to that one as counter bend just to not confuse it with true bend. And in that case, I'm going to move up so that I'm alongside the horse's ears. So basically, I'm starting to drive my train up around their train, but not crashing it into them. And this is actually covered in great detail in the Relax and Focus Your Horse course. There is a lot more in there as well. I just wanted to bring your attention to it, that whether you do the style of leading that I do, or you do a different style, or you have tricks or games or different things you do with your horse, always ask yourself, how does this relate to what I'm going to ask them to do when I ride them? Because there is a lot of groundwork out there where we are teaching them something that we're going to have to actually untrain them when we go to ride. So keep that in mind. And the people that are in my mentorship group right now, they've actually been working on this for months. It's a never-ending thing because there's always, just like riding, there's always ways of improving our finesse and our communication, and how we are with them on the ground is going to directly translate to riding. That means that when we're leading them on the ground and we're doing a serpentine, we're actually going to keep changing our body position, or maybe by the shoulder as they go around us, and then up by the ears as we go around them. And so there's a lot of awareness and timing that's involved. There's a perfect time for a horse to make a particular step or a bend change. And when we ask them out of time, they can't do it when we asked. So that stuff's all covered in there as well. Way too much to go into today. I just want to draw your attention to that. And that kind of leads into the next thing that I want to cover, which is in day 2, we're working on standing still. We'll just go with the on the horse one for now. Standing still on the horse and asking them with our inside leg to bend and look to the inside, which then moves their ribs a little to the outside. And from there, we then took that to walking forward with that bend, which you're still going to practice. But one of the things that you can work on that standing still is that you use your leg and you ask them with the bending button, you ask them to bend, you absorb. Remember, you're going to give the outside rein and absorb on the inside rein so that you're going with them. You're not blocking them from doing that bend, but also that puts you in a position to then block them from unbending. And so over the next few weeks, over the next little while, you want to work on that bending button a little bit each day and be asking for a little more, a little more. And so you don't have to bring the nose. If there was 2x4s out from the shoulder, you don't have to be bringing it way past there. You don't have to be bringing it around to your foot or anything like that. But you do want to be able to bring it as far as whatever size circle you would ride them on. But then also teach them to keep it there. And so that's where the giving with the outside rein and absorbing with the inside. So they come around and you now have those blocks set so that when they go to move away, now we're not going to pull that inside rein. You're just going to apply the inside leg. If they start to bump your hand and then they come off of that rein and you release it again. And you build on that till pretty soon they're not going to take that rein away because they know that you're going to fix it with the leg. So that's one building block that you can work on. And then release it, do the same thing on the other side. What I'm building towards here is that often when we ask for a horse to change from one bend to another, they elevate their head, which we don't want. And so when you ask a horse to stand with bend, that quite often will relax them and they'll lower their head. That's good. You want to reward that. And then you can allow them to straighten, or you can put the other leg on to ask them to straighten. And if they start to come up, then if they still have, if I was bending left and they still have some left bend and they start to come up, I'm going to left bend again. And then I'm going to start to straighten them from my right leg. They start to come up, I'm going to left bend again. And somewhere in there, maybe they'll start to come to the right bend and they might go up. Well, then I'm already on right bend, so I've got to be aware of that. And I need to fix that with the right leg. So the right leg asks them to bend around because bending around tends to drop their head. What I'm working towards is that when I use my legs to switch from one bend to the other, that the horse just switches from one to the other without elevating their head. And if they want to lower their head during the switch, I'm going to allow that. I don't want to discourage that because that is a way better error to have than going up. So that's another thing you can work towards. And then the final one on this was day 2 or training 2, basically creating bend, moving forward on that bend. Day 3, we started to add in, or training 3, we started to add in some other progressive transitions and maybe even non-progressive transitions as time goes on. But there's a couple of things that I want you to watch for when you're watching your videos. And one is tracking up. And what that is that the horse's hind feet should at least come into the tracks of the front feet. Often at the walk, they'll step right past. But a lot of horses, when they're trotting, it's a little soft, lazy, having a little jog, and their hind feet are falling a foot short of the front feet. Well, if that hind end isn't coming under them, if they're not tracking up, getting their hind feet under you, they're not engaging from behind. And so we want to work on getting them to track up, and working on arcs helps with that because it gets that inside hind to be stepping further under them. But we also can work with a metronome, and you can download a metronome app for your phone for free. And I like to get one that's got what's called a tap function, that you tap on it in time with something to find out what the beats per minute is. And so if I was working on my horse walking, and I did mention this in at least one comment during the challenge, a good average walk is 95 beats per minute. And that's like singing the song Jingle Bells. So if you're singing Jingle Bells in your head or out loud, and it sounds depressing, then your horse is going too slow. But by having this metronome, you can set it for the actual 95 beats per minute. And then at the walk, you would be counting both front feet and letting your hips follow the movement in time with Jingle Bells. But the reason I like the tap function is if you tend to have more so a really slow horse rather than the one that's too fast, one that maybe likes to walk at 85 beats per minute. I don't expect that horse to walk at 95 beats per minute just because I set my metronome there. So I can look at a video or have somebody else tap it out for me. Just tap every time one of the front feet touches the ground. And then you look at the reading and you go, okay, my horse is walking at 85 beats per minute. So the next time I go out and ride, I'm just going to set my metronome, first of all, for 85. Can we maintain that today? And then maybe go up to 87. Can we do that? If it feels good, well, maybe try 88 or 89. Work your way up rather than expecting too much out of your horse at one time. And the advantage, one of the advantages to the metronome, besides the horse being able to hear it and you, is that you will tend to move your body in time with it, and the horse will get in time with you. So it doesn't take too long to actually be able to get them up to 95 beats per minute, but just do it in stages to be fair to them. And trot would be 75 beats per minute if you're counting one leg, and 150 beats per minute if you're counting both. I like to count one leg, and if my horse is really quick, like a little sewing machine, then I'm going to count as I sit. And if their tempo is too slow, then I'm going to count as I rise. And those seem to help you be able to adjust it easier. And canter is a good average one, is usually 98 beats per minute. But like I said, get one of the metronomes that's got the tap function. Look at some video of where your horse is walking or trotting or cantering nicely. Tap it out, find out what that tempo was, so you have your baseline starting point for them.